So, aside from that, let me allow you to present the next speaker.
Okay, so again, I will try to pronounce it perfectly. So now it's time for Irine Kokilashvili. How did I did it? Was it okay? Okay, oof.
It was good.
It was really difficult. And it's Nanocl, our open source story. When I read the description, I saw all the buzzwords. I saw Kubernetes, I saw Rust. It has to be an amazing talk, right?
I hope so. Are there any Rust enthusiasts in the room today? Okay.
We are.
I'm really happy for that.
Okay. Okay, so the stage is yours. And oh, okay, yes. Let's wait if everything works.
Can we have a round of applause for Irene, please? Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, it works, so good luck.
So,
Thank you.
first of all, thank you for having me. This is my second time in Italy, and thank you to the SH crew for having me here. I'm really excited and a little bit nervous. I have never presented in front of such a big audience, so yeah. Today I will tell you a story about an open source project where I'm a contributor and also one of the main members. And first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. For those that don't know me personally, I come from a country of Georgia. So I'm really proud to be representing. Yeah, Secretary. And actually, open source is something really close to me. I graduated from university 2 weeks ago. So congratulations to me. Yeah, thank you. And unfortunately, the education in universities is really outdated. And really early, I realized that I had to search for some additional materials elsewhere that university, of course, could not give to help me learn with the materials, you know. And I found the amazing community of open source. This was thanks to my father, that's also an enthusiast in the field of computer science. And I realized that the community is really friendly. I can ask questions, especially as a student, when I knew like almost nothing. And I was really happy to find my place in open source. And of course, I gained a lot from this community, and I also decided to give back, right? And yeah, I also organized Rust Release meetup, and if you ever come to Georgia, I will be so happy to host you as a speaker. And yeah, I will tell you basically a story of our project. So what is NanoCO? It stands for Nano Cloud, a small mini cloud. It's actually a project that was born from the grounds of a study project, and it was created by my friend Leo. Unfortunately, he is not able to join here today, but Leo was a big influence and big part of kickstarting my career as he first introduced me to Rust in general. And of course, at certain point, after I read the book, after I tried to code a little bit, I asked my friend if I could contribute to the project that he was currently working on. And actually, he was also studying Rust, but he comes from like a really 10 years of experience background. And he was like, of course, I'll help you to contribute to the project. You can open pull requests, you can ask me questions, and you will gain a lot of experience and a lot of skills, right? And it's also what open source is for. So yeah, this is not a marketing talk, or I'm not trying to give you a sales pitch. So you can scan the QR code if you're interested what the project itself is and like the technical parts. But basically, it's a Rust alternative of Kubernetes. And who here has used Kubernetes? Please raise your hand. Okay, yeah. So basically, it's the Rust alternative. And it's created by the developers for the developers. And if you're using Kubernetes, you will know how complex it is, especially if you do not come from a DevOps background. So we basically wanted something more simple with less features. And my friend decided to create this project where I became a part of. So yeah, that's basically what the project does. But did we have what it took to be open source, right? So basically, where do you start and what principles do you keep in mind when you're creating your project and you want it to be open source? And for me, two main principles come to my mind. First is to create real culture for real people. And basically, when I think back over my most memorable and impactful open source projects that I have seen or been part of, they have a really crazy, remarkable dynamic. They're really welcoming, and they have really fun cultures. And I really wanted to create something similar, right? A place where people could ask questions, we can help them out, we can brainstorm together, we can share ideas together and create something that is not just mine and my friends, but something that is ours together. And second, really important principle is to build code that people actually want. And I don't think this is necessary, but I think this is somewhat important. So you have to basically ask yourself, is the code you're building something that is useful? You will, if you just scratch your itches, you will end up creating software only for you. But our goal was to create something that can be used for other people that were suffering with usage of Kubernetes and its really complex documentation. And the great way to do this is to create a survey and ask your community what they actually want, you know? And this is actually what we did. So we were working on the project for quite some months, and we had no insights from anyone. We had no feedback. We had maybe like 50 maximum starts on the GitHub. And I asked my friend, dude, like, we're working on this, but are we actually creating something useful? Like, we never heard anything from anyone. So I asked him to make a post on Reddit, and Reddit is really good place to get good and bad feedback. And as you can see, like in just couple hours, we got really huge feedback. I was not expecting this at all. And there were a lot of comments, a lot of people that were giving us really good comments. And yeah, we were really excited. We understood that actually we're doing something useful, people are interested, and we can continue working on it, and it's not going to be another project that we just bury and it will die, because that happened to us many times. So let's just like check one of the feedbacks that actually really broke me. So basically, he said something like, Kubernetes is present century's work and was started by people who had already written a similar system. What makes you think you're successful? And it was like a really discouraging moment for us, especially for me, because I tend to be a little bit more sensitive than my friend. It felt like we were putting effort into this project, and we were working really hard, and this like random guy that didn't even look at the project, most likely, I don't know, thought that we can't make it just because we don't come from this like really experienced background, right? And yeah, so basically any attempt to replicate or improve of what was already existing would be really futile. But really fortunately to me, because I was really upset, someone reached out and commented that everyone is passionate about their project, and the same comment could have been applied to big people like Linus Torvalds as an example, or big projects like systemd or WASP, right? So some projects are made just for fun. Our project was made for fun and also for educational purposes. And of course, if the project is good, the community will support it. And I felt really motivated, and I was so happy that, okay, I don't have to be like upset about what is going on from this one guy. And of course, yeah, if you don't want to, like, no one's forcing you to like use the project, right? So yeah, what that guy said was actually really true. And as I mentioned, it's important to listen to your community and check what they're asking for. This is just like part of the comments from a guy that opened a pull request, opened an issue, and also some of the comments from the Reddit post, where people wanted some additional features. And of course, we listened, we added those stuff in, and we basically worked together with people that would want to use this software and listen what things we were lacking as an account. And yeah, this was, of course, really fun and really enjoyable, but we stood under a dilemma. We had a case where a person was asking for the project to be compatible with Kubernetes API. And basically, yeah, you can read a little bit more what he wanted exactly, and we fell under the dilemma because the main idea of our project is to be a developer tool first, and make things simpler and be separate from Kubernetes, of course. And of course, this is why we did not have the same spec. And if we did add the second spec, it would be quite difficult to maintain it because we were actually only 2 people working full-time on this project. And of course, there were contributors, but we were just beginning. This was like just a couple days after we posted the Reddit post, right? And yeah, we kept the issue open. A lot of other people reached out. They also joined the Discord server to ask us some questions. And we stood under the dilemma because some people wanted this to be included, but the others thought that this was something that is not needed. And we also kind of stood like in the middle, like you have to listen to the community, but you also have your own interests and you want to develop your project in like a really specific way. So yeah, actually this was really difficult, and we decided that, okay, this is not our priority right now, but it's definitely something we can look in the future. So we kept the issue open, and we waited for people to contribute themselves if this is what they wanted, because that's what open source is about. If something is lacking, you fork the project and you add the feature yourself, right? So yeah, next thing I want to talk about, it's about making your READMEs and your contributor guides easy to read. And I was a student, and I did not have much experience. And even now, when I go to GitHub and I want to contribute to some open source projects, I always check the contributor guide, and I have difficulty understanding of what is going on, how I can get started. And okay, with the raise of hands, does anyone have here their own open source project? Okay, yeah, okay. Guys, like, students are a really big power force. Like, we're really motivated to contribute to open source, test our skills, and it's also a way to like put something on our CV to later find a job, right? But unfortunately, we're not that experienced, and of course, we need to learn a way to read the contributor guide and ask you questions. And if you're not like reachable, if you don't have like a Discord server or you're not active somewhere, we need to like do something, right? So basically, yeah, my friend Leo, he also did not understand this because, of course, he was working for 10 years and he could just look at the code and understand what was happening. But I was really different. So what I think you should do is you have to basically put your brain into this incognito mode and forget everything that you know about your project, right? Then you can like pick up a really simple task to work on and start creating a pull request to submit. And don't assume anything, question everything. And at every step of the process, ask yourself, is this part intuitive? For example, if you need to know what a method does in a source file, is it easy to figure that out? For everything that might not be intuitive, you can like write it down and later go back to it and improve on it, right? And of course, when you have completed everything and merge your pull request, prioritize all things you noted down, and you can start fixing it and adding it into your contributor guide. And this is really, really helpful because you will have new community member go through the same process and ask them for their feedback and ask Was contributing easy? Did they understand everything inside the guide? Was it like easy to open pull request? And oh my God, some open source projects, I don't want to be a hater, but when you're working on a pull request, they will ask you maybe like 20 times to change something really specific, right? And I did not want to be that type of person, because I'm a student, and sometimes I don't know how to change things. So I asked my friend, let's not do that. We're not going to be really strict, and we're not going to go through every single small detail, but we're going to have more freedom, and if students need like more guidance, they can ask questions, and we're not going to call for them, but we're going to guide them how to implement this or that. And this is really, really important to teach not only students, but actually older adults as well, right? So yeah, this was like something really important to me. And where do you search for help? We had a couple moments on our project where we were not, let's say, technically experienced, and we were pretty much stuck, right? We did not know how to, I don't know, solve something really specific. And yeah, my friend was about to give up. He was like, I don't know, like, we were brainstorming for like a couple weeks, and we still have this like issue. It could be like a bug, or we don't know how to implement this or that. Like, what do we do? And first of all, I went to ResearchGate. It's basically where scientists publish their articles and share their things that they have written. And I found a lot of PhD students, or it were professors that had things published, and I directly contacted them through email, and I told them the story of what we have, what they would recommend to us, and everyone is so nice. Like in open source community, everyone is willing to help. So of course, the professors reached out, and they gave us like pitch in some ideas, what we could do, how we can get moving, and so on. Yeah, another place is of course Reddit. Reddit is really, really good to get feedback from people and have like a survey, as I said before. And it's also useful because you can post your questions that might be, let's say, Rust specific. And Rust is not, let's say, a language that's around for as much as other languages. So you might have some difficulties solving this or that. And yeah, Discord and Reddit were like perfect for that, to find people that were really experienced. And finally, we created our own Discord server to communicate with people. There were cases where some people were writing me email, but I didn't check it on time, and they needed help with this or that, and they needed help with setting things up and, you know, like get things moving. So yeah, Discord was also quite useful. And before I finish telling you my story, I want to move on to the last slide, where a person commented to us, "From acorns, great oaks can grow." And you can read the rest by yourself, but if you're a student like myself and you're just getting started with open source, never let your chin down. Like, don't be upset if you get some hate or if someone's not like positive about your project. Be confident into what you're doing, right? And just keep working on it. And always try to find inspiration here or there. And I don't know, I hope you will get started with open source yourself if you're a student, especially if you go to a university where some materials are not available. And I hope you will, I don't know, join a project where you can find yourself and contribute and get your skills up. And yeah, I also contribute to a lot of other Rust projects. If there's any of you that want to chat about it later, you can come to me and we can talk about that. So I have my GitHub here. You can check that out. And if you want to keep in touch with me, I have a QR code to my LinkedIn account. So please contact me and let's do something together if you're interested. So yeah, that was it for me. Thank you very much for listening to my talk.
Thank you so much, Irene. Amazing talk. So, as I understand, you would recommend contributing to open source project to every student, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because the thing that you said at the beginning that sometimes the universities, especially the technical parts of it, feel a bit outdated. I also remember this, and I mean, thanks to the university, I learned so many languages that I never used. I mean, really. Does anyone here use Ada?
No.
Exactly, and I learned it. It was an amazing adventure. Okay, so are there any questions for Irene? Because I'm sure that you are kind of interested about contributing to open source.
Okay, so we might have two questions. I don't know, let's start with this one.
Okay.
Can you tell more about what content are you expecting in contribution guide? Because this is a really important part of the open source, but as an experienced open source developer, I have no idea what exactly should I put there.
You mean like in the guide itself?
Yeah, the contribution guide.
Okay, let's go to my slide, because this is what I screenshotted from our project. First of all, I think you should explain your project structure, right? Maybe it's monorepo, maybe there's like multiple repositories, and people have to understand how code from one repo to another ties together. Or if it's monorepo, you should like still explain what different folders are for, especially for people that are not experienced, might have difficulty understanding this. Next, because we have to install the project, and especially some people might know that if you're installing for development purposes versus production, the installation process might be really different. So we, of course, have the installation guide for different platforms, and, of course, for dev separately from the production separately. And, yeah, that's also really important to just have all the comments there so you can, like, copy and paste in the terminal. Then we have some stuff about Rust, and Rust has its own specifics. If let's say this way, that you might have experience with different programming languages and you understand how you can code, but you're not familiar with Rust. I think that would be also really useful to add this kind of things into your project, right? Yeah, of course, running. And for us, running is basically what the project does, like how it works. And of course, yeah, Docker desktop, there was some issue with that. They were open source and then they were not. So we also have that added there because some people still use Docker desktop and you have to be compatible with what the community is using. And yeah, just testing. Testing is testing your code because we have some tests implemented inside the project and you will have to write tests for the code you're writing, and this is also really important. And last one, I have just some useful commands that you might find on the man or the help command, but just written inside the guide itself. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, I want to thank you for the talk, and I want to ask, how did a feature request ended up, and what's the status of your project? How mature NanoCL is?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, we are working on this project for a year and maybe 8 months. And if you check our GitHub, we have a roadmap, and you can see how the project is developing, what step we are at right now, like what we are thinking to add, and so on. And can you ask again, because I think I missed something.
Yeah, no, the feature request to import the resources from Kate.
Oh, from the Kubernetes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, no. We as I mentioned, it's not our priority right now. Because there are some other features that, let's say, Kubernetes says and we don't, and we want to add it first. And of course, we're going to work on the compatibility like much later, right? I don't think it's something that we have to focus on like at the moment. But if someone is happy to open a pull request, you're welcome, and we can brainstorm together. Okay.
Okay, we have time for one more question if someone has one.
Oh, and if I could ask you, on my talk, I always take a big selfie with everyone in the background. I hope no one will be against that, so yeah. Okay. You guys have to look happy.
Say open source.
I know it's still early and everyone woke up really early, but okay, let's do this. Okay.
Thank you very much, Irene. Big round of
Thank
applause.
you.